Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this update we're going to follow up on some of the previous videos that you've seen. If you haven't had a chance to check out the video where I described the stealthy weakness in this market, which was posted about a day or so ago, and then also taking a look at the decision levels. So those two videos, the stealthy weakness in this market and arriving at decision levels, kind of brings us to the conversation that we're going to check out right now. And you can catch those videos on the Simpler Trading YouTube channel. All right, so what do we have now? Well, we have the decision level that we've been talking about in the Nas for a while. Now, what's so important about the NASDAQ? Well, the number one weighted sector in the Nas, of course, is tech. The number one weighted sector in the S&P is tech. And the number two weighted sector in the Dow is tech. So tech is, well, it's different. It's a little bit more special. And since we have finally, and you can see right here and right here, hit that resistance. Here's our Darvis signal. There's our Darvis box level. Since we finally got to that level, now the price criteria, which is step number one, has been met. Number two is waiting for the pattern. This is shaping up to actually be not an inside candle, but rather a minor low. And that means we're going to be keeping a very close eye on the support levels that were created by, I would say, even Monday's close, Tuesday's low, and now today, Wednesday's low. So all those important psychological levels that are just built into these candles and built into the way that we perceive whether something is strong or not, really important how that culminates right at, look at this. It's culminating basically right at the 15,500 area, really 15,495, that area. So right there at a major psychological level, 15.5, and all these candle wicks reminding us that that level is in play. We've got a volume ledge as resistance to the upside. We've got a volume ledge as support to the downside. So as long as we remain below, as long as we can keep closing below 15.6, 15.610, that's downward pressure. When we start to move lower, which is what I think we could do if we pierce the psychological level, 15,500, really 15,490, we start getting below that level. I think the first level of support we're probably going to deal with is going to be sitting right at about 15,360, 15,365. Now, all this is being done on the NASDAQ futures. If you want to play the micros, cool. The MNQ, if you want to play the QQQ, no problem. But it's all really going to be dependent on the close from, which is this 15,495, the Tuesday low, 15,503, and today's low, 15,507. But today has actually, it's not a pretty minor high, but it is looking like a minor high. What triggers our attention now as this being potentially overbought? That's the high. Now, when I talk about not front-running the breakdown, not front-running the pattern, and I mentioned this in yesterday's video, what I mean is we need that lower low. Because if we front-ran the pattern on, for example, the NASDAQ, for example, the S&P, we never got the pattern triggering. Same thing goes with the Dow. So we hit the price level. That's not enough. We actually need to then break that minor low. Today in the Dow, we broke the support of the minor high pattern. And if I said minor low, I meant minor high. So here's my minor high pattern. We need to break the support of that minor high. Today in the Dow, YM, we did it. We have yet to do it in the S&P. Probably, actually, no, I take that back. We can say we did it in the S&P too. Never mind. S&P right there. There's that previous close. There's your minor high. Yeah, we've actually done it on the S&P as well. And now finally, sort of the laggard, if you will. And it makes sense why the Nas is the laggard. Because we still have two little companies having some very minor earnings. Maybe you've heard of them. It's Amazon and Apple. I don't know what they do, but I think they're pretty important. We have Apple, the number one weighted stock in the XLK ETF. We have Amazon, the number one weighted stock in the XLY ETF. Both those sector ETFs are heavily weighted within the NASDAQ. So it would make sense that the NAS isn't quite ready to roll over yet. But the scene is set, right? The stage is set, as they say. We know the levels, and we're looking for something akin to what we see in the Dow and the S&P. Please remember, we're not talking about this as a precursor to a collapse. Collapses come in stages. Let's get through the point of control. Let's get through the low. Let's get through some volume ledges. We have a lot of levels that could hold these markets in a range. And if you think that markets can't sit in a range for a long time, let me introduce you to my dear friend, the Russell, which has been ranging steadily, or arguably nearly predictably, since mid-March of this year. I'm not saying we need to collapse. We could have a pattern that looks very reminiscent of the Russell, which has been actually very tradable once we confirmed the chop, had the edges of the chop, and could fade those edges. And that's really what we're talking about here. So finally, the previous conversations that we've had, S&P Dow have both triggered. NASDAQ has also triggered. If you've been waiting for some of the sectors to pull back, like I've been talking about in previous videos, go take a look at the XLF. Go take a look at the KRE. There are some interesting places that we're getting some opportunity in some of the relative outperformers. CLOU, CIBR, XLF, KRE, XLE, OIH, XOP, right? These should all be very familiar to you. So I know I've carried on a little bit longer, but this is pretty exciting. A lot of you have been asking me, Rog, when are you going to get bearish and how are you going to do it? This is it. I'll see you in the next update. Hey traders, Raghee from Simpler Trading. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like and a comment below. And remember, subscribe and click the bell icon so you'll get notified of the next update. And when you're ready to join me for live trading, be sure to head on over to simplertrading.com. I'll see you in the next update.